In this last section of Chapter 5, we're going to define some other parts of the plant cell, being stomata and guard cell, and look at something called transpiration. Because in the last section, at the very end, we mentioned that even though photosynthesis can convert carbon dioxide, it's not able to convert enough of it to make up for all these fossil fuels being released in the atmosphere. And we also mentioned that because of an increase in climate temperature, or in climate change, it actually can affect the rate of photosynthesis. So how do high temperatures reduce photosynthesis? Well, first off, we need to understand a part of a plant called a stomata. Stomata are openings in leaves, and these openings in the leaves actually allow for gas exchange. And if you look over here to the image, so stomata, this would be the opening here. And on either side of the stomata, you have these things called guard cells. And so what guard cells do is they regulate the opening of stomata. They have this ability to close the stomata or to open it. Now, we have this concept called transpiration. Transpiration is the movement of water through the stomata, because we know that if the stomata are open, sure, you can exchange a lot of gases, but a plant also runs the risk of losing water. So if the stomata are closed, they can conserve water, keep from losing water, but the problem with this is it limits gas exchange, which means it limits photosynthesis. So what we're noticing then is as temperatures rise, it's causing plants to keep their stomata closed more often because they're trying to conserve water. Well, if they're keeping their stomata closed more often, yes, they're going to conserve water, but they're also going to slow down the amount of photosynthesis that can occur. So higher temperatures here definitely would reduce photosynthesis. And so in reducing the amount of photosynthesis, you're reducing the amount of carbon dioxide that's actually going to get converted. And so again, in turn, we're seeing an increase in carbon, which is an increase in climate change. So what are some of the effects of climate change? Well, again, we've already mentioned severe storms. We think that's contributed because melting of the glaciers, which is rising sea levels. We're also seeing an increase in the amount of droughts because of the higher temperatures. Some of the biological effects that we're seeing loss of habitat for species that are temperature specific. We're seeing infectious diseases spread to certain areas. We're also seeing a loss in coral reefs and algae, which you may not realize but play a really big role in carbon dioxide. And so definitely seeing some effects here. Now, as far as impacts, again, we're noticing 4% of the world's population actually produces 25% of carbon dioxide. So an increase in industry, an increase in transportation, an increase in commercial, residential, and agricultural emissions is causing a huge increase in the amount of carbon dioxide that we're seeing in the atmosphere. So the question is, how can you help? How can you decrease gas emissions? Well, in your textbook, they show some things that you can do by carpooling or by recycling and even by walking that could help to lower the amount of carbon dioxide we're actually giving off, which could hopefully help to decrease the amount of climate change that we are seeing.